I'm on all of my platforms calling Paige basketball Paul Wall, really. And I just feel like she's going to have an amazing time in Dallas.
I'm most interested in, and I think what people are most interested in is just like, how is this going to work? Because I felt like some people were like, hey, are they going to move on from Arike Agumbawale? And I was like, well, if you can't let everyone go,
Right.
and like you get Dejanay Carrington too, which I think is a very fun acquisition, not just because, Nalissa Smith is there, but I think from a basketball standpoint, like they could be pretty dynamic. What do you see in terms of, we got a comment about Kaylin Chen. I do want to get to that, actually. I do want to get to that at some point
Shout out her.
in the sleeper portion, perhaps, because I really liked her at UConn. But Paige Bueckers getting drafted. What's the fit, or how's the fit going to work, you think, in Dallas?
Man, are we talking just on the court or like culturally?
Everything.
Because I'm on all of my platforms calling Paige the basketball Paul Wall, really. And I just feel like she's going to have an amazing time in Dallas. No, truly. Culturally, the culture, I'm Black people, gay people, we love Paige. And one, she is incredibly talented, but two, just the care that she takes with her teammates.
Yes.
She recognizes her platform, her privilege, all of those things that we ask for in allyship from, majority groups, whatever. And yeah, I just, she has the air about her. She has the little pieces of swag. Again, she's just largely embraced, and I genuinely feel like she's basketball Paul Wall, and the city of Dallas is really going to love her, going to rally around her. And on the court, I think it's almost an amazing fit. Before Olivia, said she was going back to school, I know that there was chatterings around, like, what if Dallas really did just take Olivia first, right, and kind of fuck it up a little bit? What would that feel like? And I understood that there, but I think Paige just works as a backcourt partner with Arike. You have areas and opportunity that you can get Arike off the ball. Paige can play off the ball. Paige can kind of help them connect a little bit of the tops and bottom portions of their offense. I feel like the Dallas teams of the past, like with the two super bigs, Big T and Kalani, and when they had, Natasha Howard and stuff, Satu didn't feel like enough in the middle, kind of, bringing the two hemispheres of their offense together. I know they went through, kind of a bevy of guards in the time too. I feel like it just works. You get Arike off the ball, you have Paige, she can connect the two. Like I said, Dejanay, I think, just adds some dynamicism. I know that there are still areas of her game that are, primed for improvement and stuff, but what you get with Dejanay right now is super solid. I think Nalissa, is an interesting fit schematically with that group. And then Maddie Segrist had a hell of a Athletes Unlimited showing this summer. So I think Dallas just, they have talent, they have pieces. I think Kurt did an amazing job this offseason. I don't know, maybe we'll come back to Dallas when we get, into rounds 2 and 3 and stuff, because, I really liked what they did, in the later portions. But I think, Paige just makes all the sense for them. And they couldn't be more excited. Arike fell to her knees in excitement when they got the pick.
Yeah.
They've been trying not to call Paige teammate all tournament. So, like, I think all of the powers that are there, I think they're all excited about one another.
I think it's an on the court, off the court thing also. She's a dynamic player on the court, but she also has a dynamic personality that I think people are going to feed off of. You mentioned Paul Wall. I'm going to sound old. I have legitimately over there, like in the living room, where I have like a bunch of hard copy albums. People's Champ is over there.
Yep.
Legitimately. Yep. I had a Dirty South phase when I was
Paige, like, if she don't, I know Paige already has a girl. If she doesn't, like, she's gonna have a girl before she get there. It's finna be a hoot.
Yeah, Yeah, and the city needs it after, you know.
Again, and we'll come back to Dallas because again, shout out to what they did later. But
I really like what they did in the draft. Yeah. We have a couple comments about not Paige Bueckers, although Madhouse DMI asked about the Fever not getting Lucy. Seems like a no brainer. I I'm not gonna like get into that question necessarily because we'll perhaps get to that later. But Paige is inevitably I could speak gonna be compared to Caitlin Clark.
sure,
I don't necessarily want to delve into those waters, but I feel like the job is the job,
what is the
and
job?
impact wise, her
Yeah,
first year. I mean, do you see a comparison? I don't think she's the exact same type of player, but
no,
I think the injuries during her college career sort of made people forget, like, hey,
yes,
she was sensational right away.
yeah,
And if you were following high school basketball at all,
yes,
she was the one in that
yeah,
class with Haley Van Lith, etc. Um, that was that had the most hype, and that sort of went by the wayside a little bit. And now she's gotten it back. It feels like so. If it, like, how is she going to compare to Caitlyn? I guess it's going to be the main thing that people are looking for. And how would you answer that?
yeah. Again, kind of culturally, right? So people that follow grassroots women's basketball hoops, they start picking it up during, like your later AAU years, later high school years, whatever, whatever. Stick with their people and kind of follow through. And like you said, if you were around pre-injury, Paige was that girl out of high school, out of Hawkins. Paige was on magazine covers and followed and featured and very much kind of like culturally, Paige is more similar to Juju than she is kind of to Caitlyn, just
Mm,
in the noise and kind of the just the hype that had been around them since high school. Maybe I was late to Caitlyn, but if I was, I know many others were as well. And Caitlyn. I tried to put Paige and Caitlyn in the same name twice.
that'd be a hell
um,
of a player. Shit.
Man, Pagelyn, right? Cage. But yeah, and then coming into junior year of college, Paige,
Yes.
Caitlyn started really, really doing the things that we kind of know Caitlyn to do. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think inevitably, like you said, that they're going to catch comparisons. Like it or not, they we do the thing with the white players. We kind of put them up against one another, but that's it's just what happens, and it's really
Yeah.
don't be much malice to it. Now, what I will say is, as far as embrace, and that gets a little bit deeper than we maybe are willing to go. But I do
Mm,
think generally the reception to Paige and Caitlyn, from multiple demographics, are a little bit different, and it's not necessarily a good or bad thing. But for the league, I think Paige's arrival is really good, to kind of tamp down and bite back a little bit at just
yeah.
kind of some of the bullshit that came in when Caitlyn came in to no real fault of her own.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think it's really just kind of a good balancing rebalancing of polls. People have gotten less weird about Caitlyn, but it was very weird for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I am happy for what I know the page insertion to do
Yeah.
to kind of a bit of that pool.
Love the way you navigated that answer. That was beautifully done.
Thank you. Because
It's some
that's a little bit of a landmine of a topic, but you have to be willing. If you want
yeah.
to get into it, it's there to get into, but you got to be willing to kind of hear a bunch of maybe uncomfortable truths.
On this channel is probably one of the videos that did the best, where me and Maria Marino talked about this extensively, about like what does the impact look like, and it wasn't just a basketball question.
No,
So if you do want a larger discussion about that, you can go find that from December. I think that was around the holidays, but I mean, yeah. So there's that piece of it.